Hello, and good morning, Lewis and Clark, Trailblazers After School Academy. It is a Mindfulness Monday, and thank you for joining, and thank you for your patience also. This is my third time trying this live video, and Facebook Live is being a little weird this morning. So I can't even see myself in the video to see if this is working, but we'll just go with it anyway. So, if you have joined us and if you are honoring yourself in the form of mindfulness, give yourself a pat on the back. Thank you so much for being here and thank you for honoring your self care. My name is Katarina Gleisberg and I am part of Wisdom House Collaborative and the Empowered Minds Club, which is an after school club in Lewis and Clark. And we are here today for another mindful listening lesson. This is lesson 3 in our series. So if you saw my video last week or the week before, we kind of introduced what is mindfulness, what is it not, and last week we talked a little bit about mindful bodies. So at any time, if you have any comments, feel free to comment in the comment box. If you have any questions, please feel free to ask questions. And we just want to serve you as best we can with mindfulness, especially during these times of very strong emotions. It's so important to take a pause because things can feel very overwhelming. So today we'll be talking about mindful listening, and our word of the day is anchor. So please feel free to comment and ask questions at any time. So first of all, let's just check in with yourself. How are you feeling? We know that if we can name it, we can tame it. So just take a moment to notice what is the emotion that you're feeling. And then once you've labeled that emotion, how do you know that you feel that way? Is there a certain sensation that you're feeling in the body? A certain sensation in the body that helps you know how you're feeling. Perhaps it's something to do with your temperature and maybe your face is warm, or maybe it's your heart rate increasing, or maybe it's tightness that you feel somewhere. If you watched last week's video on mindful bodies, we talked about all these mindful body sensations that we can feel. And we did an exercise just with our hands, noticing all these different things that we can feel with our hands versus no matter if it's rubbing them together or lightly writing our name in our palm. There's all these different sensations that we can feel simply with our hand. So that was mindful bodies. That was our practice last week. And you might be able to feel your mindful body right now. If you are able to sit upright, but not uptight, and if you're sitting on a chair or you're standing and you can feel your feet flat on the ground, that's mindful bodies. And if you're just aware of the sensation of your body in the chair, that feeling of gravity can be so grounding. And that's another example of mindful bodies. So, that brings us into the mindfulness of sound, right? So last week, our anchor, word of the day, anchor was the sensations that we're feeling in our body. No matter if it's heat or tingling or pressure or tightness or pulsing, all of those things are anchors. So the anchor, just like with a boat, the anchor helps hold the boat steady. It's that thing that when we have all these distractions and other things going on, the anchor is what we can bring our attention to. So the anchor in mindfulness is that thing that we choose, whether it's our body, a mindful sensation in our body, or whether it is the sounds that we hear. When we're practicing mindfulness, we can continuously bring our attention to a sound, if sound is our anchor. And it's that thing that is always there for our support. When the attention wanders, but then we remember to bring it back, that's the anchor that is always there. We know that mindfulness is something that we can practice anywhere, at any time, free of charge. It is always with us for support. Just like the breath is always with us for support, it's something neutral. The same thing with sounds. There might be sounds that we sometimes, label as pleasant or unpleasant or just neutral, but they're always there, and it's something that we can use as an anchor. So I'm just curious, have you been aware of any sounds today? Maybe it started with something in the morning, such as the sound of the alarm clock, or the sound of turning on the shower, or the sound of others talking, or a sound from outside. Just think about that. And just knowing that sounds are constantly arising, doing their dance, and then passing away all around us, and sounds even within us. So intentionally paying to the sounds, feeling our ears, can not only help us to come back to the present, they can also stabilize the mind and further refine our sense of hearing and deep listening. So we're going to do a guided practice today where we're going to sit and pay close attention to the sounds around us. So we'll start by getting in a mindful posture. And as we've talked about mindful bodies the last couple weeks, if it feels comfortable for you, you can allow the eyes to close. If closing them isn't comfortable for you, you can just have a soft gaze looking down at the floor a few feet in front of you, just knowing that we want to fix the gaze, not our eyes darting all around, because stillness is part of our mindful bodies. So stillness and quiet and sitting upright yet not uptight. And allowing our shoulders to kind of fall, knowing that a lot of times we hold stress or tension in our shoulders or our neck or in our back. And just knowing that at this time that we're practicing mindfulness, we don't have to be anywhere or do anything. We can just pay attention to the present moment. So for this practice, we'll begin by just resting your attention on the breath, as we've practiced the last couple weeks. Just noticing if there's any sensation you feel in the body as we notice the breath. Maybe it's the rising and the falling of the chest or the belly. And now, as we will gently shift to awareness of sounds, I'm going to ring a bell 3 times. Knowing that perhaps the sound of the bell might be pleasant for you or unpleasant or just neutral, but just noticing what comes up for you. And listen as closely as you can to see if you can actually hear the moment the bell begins to the moment that the bell ends. You might notice how that felt using the bell as your mindful listening anchor. And just notice to yourself, Was it challenging for you or easy? And just letting that feeling be as it is, not judging yourself one way or another, just noticing. So now let's listen to other sounds. Whether it's a sound that's inside your room, whether it's a sound that's outside, just listening, using sound as our anchor. Without searching for sounds, just let them come to you. You might now notice sounds far away, perhaps in another room or out on the street, or sounds nearby or in your room, such as the hum of a fan or a refrigerator or any air. And if you notice any judgments or thoughts about the sounds, simply let them be and let them go. Notice if you find yourself trying to identify or label the sounds. Notice if you find yourself trying to identify or label the sounds. And if you do, see if you instead can simply hear the bare sounds themselves. No need to identify the sounds. Can you be aware that sounds arise and fade away? No need to get attached to any of them. Can you notice if there are any spaces between the sounds? And when your attention wanders, as it inevitably will, attention likes to wander, gently return your attention to the flow of sounds occurring in the present moment. What you are beginning to develop is observing a single thing for an extended period of time. You are exercising the mindfulness muscles of the brain. And I will ring the bell another 3 times. And notice again if you can hear the sound from the beginning, through the middle, through the ends. And if your eyes were closed, allow them to open. Notice where your attention is now. What's most present for you right now? As always, if you have any comments on anything you notice, you can feel free to share that in the comment box. If you have any questions, feel free to share that in the comment box. If this were a live class, we'd have everybody sharing what came up for them, what was their experience. And know that no matter what came up for you, there's no right or wrong. Being mindful of the thoughts, emotions, sensations, all of those things that we notice, that's mindfulness. And so just knowing that whatever that was like for you, whatever you noticed, is okay, and congratulate yourself for being aware of all of those things and for using sound as your anchor. So we've said that anchor is our word of the day. So now we're going to do a practice where we're anchoring with the breath. We know that that anchor is that thing to which we bring our attention because we know that that anchor is always there with us for support. So we've spoken before in lessons that we do with students in the classroom that mindfulness and our attention. So we practice mindfulness because it gives us more space between a stimulus and a response. So when we notice something and we take that mindful pause, we're giving us that space so that instead of a really impulsive reaction, which is something we might regret, we're able to take a pause to choose a skillful response that might serve us in a better way. So we've also described to students before that when we practice mindfulness, we can use this metaphor of a punching bag. So we know that a punching bag often has sand in the bottom of it. That sand that keeps it stable so that when something really, really strong or triggering happens, we might not get knocked really fast, but the more that we practice mindfulness, the more that we're building up sand. We're building up that resilience in the base of a punching bag so that when something happens that might trigger us, we don't get knocked down as far or get knocked down for as long of a time as we might have otherwise. So knowing that we can honor ourselves with a mindful pause and noticing any sort of sensation, whether it's mindful bodies or it's a mindful sound, using sound as our anchor, can be something to bring our attention to that anchor that gives us that opportunity for a pause. So, okay, let's do this. Anchoring with the breath as another guided time to practice. Let's practice with an anchor. Okay, as always, if it's comfortable for you, you may allow your eyes to close. And if it's not comfortable for you to close your eyes, just lower your gaze to a few feet in front of you in the floor so that your gaze is still. And knowing that in mindfulness, we use an anchor to connect the attention to the present moment, decreasing the amount of time that it drifts away due to thoughts, emotions, or other distractions. Using the breath as our anchor, and allowing our posture to have a mindful body posture where we're sitting upright, yet not uptight. And if we're sitting in a chair and our feet are able to touch the ground, noticing that sensation of our feet flat on the ground. Bringing your attention to the breath. What is it like right now? Can you feel your belly expand and contract with your breath? Can you notice your chest gently rising and falling? Can you feel the air passing through your nose softly as you breathe? Notice every single detail about your breath that you can. Feel it filling all the different areas of your body as you inhale. Is the air warm or cool? Pleasant, neutral, or unpleasant? And at your own pace, resting your attention on the breath, wherever you feel it most right now. No need to try and change it. No need to try and control the breath. Just noticing it. Your mind, your attention may not stay with your breath for very long. That's okay. When your attention wanders, it's not a problem. It's normal. Just notice this and maybe label, is it thinking? And just label this as thinking. And then let it go. And return your attention as kindly as you can to your breath. Silently sitting there and notice what's coming up for you. And when I will ring the bell, and when you can no longer hear the sound of the bell, allow your eyes to open. All right. How do you feel? How do you feel after that practice? And how do you know that you feel that way? Is there a sensation in the body that helps you to know what emotion that you're feeling? So here are some reflection questions for you. Was it easy or difficult for you to use the bell or any other sounds as your anchor? And just know whatever comes up for you, there's no good or bad. It's just, mindfulness is about noticing these things, whether we deem them pleasant or unpleasant or neutral. As another reflection question, were you able to notice sounds around you that maybe are constantly there, but maybe we're just too busy to notice throughout our normal day? And as another reflection, when your attention wandered, because I'm sure it did for all of us, the attention likes to wander, were you able to note what was coming up for you? As we know, if you can name it, you can tame it. So perhaps as your attention was wandering and you found yourself thinking, if you were able to label thinking, it takes some of the power away because we're just labeling what's coming up for us with no attachment, no judgment. So, as always, know that anything that comes up for you is okay, and that is mindfulness. And it's a great thing that you're bringing attention to what's coming up for you in your body. So, if you have any questions, if you have any experiences that are coming up for you, please feel free to comment on this video. Please feel free to ask any questions. I will be back for another Mindfulness Monday video next Monday, and hopefully the technology will go a little bit more smoothly so it can go live right away. And please know that anything you're experiencing is okay, and honor yourself for bringing attention to that so that we don't stuff away anything that might cause dis-ease in the body if we don't allow it to be as it is. Thank you for honoring yourself with mindfulness. And I will see you next Monday. Thank you.